Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the opening playbook for what are we? Tuesday, August 26th, 2025. We got a good handful of people in the room. Obviously, we start in about 13 minutes, but I'm going to go through just some pre-show bonus information. Some of you may have seen some of it before. We try and repeat some of it for people who are new and add some new information for everybody else. So let's get into it. First, let me make the presentation a little bit bigger. There we go. All right. So, for those of you that are brand new to Opening Playbook, this is a free daily webinar that we do that we try and present timely market reviews and trading education. We focus on trade ideas, daily Q&A with all of you. Occasionally we do some live trading, but it's not the primary focus. And we also have special guests sometimes, like we will today, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, we've recently had like a bunch of different brands floating around. So just to clear that up for anybody who might be confused by it, we have the Prosperity Pub brand, which is the brand under which Nathan and Graham have been providing their independent services for some time now, and the Trading Pub brand, which is the brand under which Lance Ippolito has been providing his independent services all along. And then we just recently created the New Money Crew, which is a brand that brings the three of them together to offer complimentary sets of services and participate in live events together and so on. And then we also have the Markets PG brand, which is our umbrella parent company, which you normally don't hear too much about. But we recently moved the live room that you're in right now from the New Money Crew domain to the Markets PG domain, just because many of you are having some issues with the New Money Crew domain. And the quickest, easiest way to solve that was to switch it to our umbrella company. We recently switched from Zoom to this new platform you're in right now, which we call WisePub. We did it for a number of reasons. We did it, for one, so that we could have one room that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that will, in the very near future, slowly but surely become the one place you need to go for all live events for New Money Crew. So anything that Nathan, Graham, or Lance are doing live, this will be the one place you would go for it. We're still transitioning Lance into this room and this platform, and we still occasionally have some live events for Nate and Graham on Zoom, but for the most part, this is where you'll find Nathan and Graham, and in the very near future, Lance as well. It also allows us to do other things, such as have both group chat and private messages at the same time, to customize the interface to show information like what's starting soon between the live events. Allows us to stream to multiple places at the same time. So we're working with the developer on this as opposed to Zoom, which just is what it is. So a lot of reasons where we're hoping that this platform will improve the services we can deliver to you, and that's why we've made the change and kind of put everybody through the struggle of changing platforms. In case you're new to the platform or just don't know some of this, some things that might help you use the platform more to your liking or to your preferences. You can click the hamburger menu, which are those three lines in the top left corner, to shrink that left green column and give you a little bit more screen area for the presentation itself. You can click the speaker icon in the lower left to mute and unmute the audio for the screen share. So if you just don't hear anything at all, double check and make sure that you're not muted. If you do find that you aren't muted and still can't hear anything, then just refresh the browser. Those icons in the lower right allow you to change how big the screen share, how big the video display is. You can make it full screen with the double arrows, or you can make it a smaller picture in a picture with the little box inside a box icon. That will only appear on devices and browsers that can do it. Not all of them can. We seem to have been having the best luck with using the Chrome browser on whatever device you're on, and see if that gives you the picture in a picture capability. That will allow you to shrink the video to a little floating screen and allow you to do other things in the background, like switch to your trading platform and things like that, while still hearing and seeing the video in a floating window. We recommend that everybody turns off the low latency slider that's underneath the video. This will give it a few seconds delay from when we say something or show it on the screen. The audio and video will still be synchronized with each other. You'll just get both of them a few seconds delayed, but that gives the whole system time to give you the best audio and video possible. With the low latency on, you get it a few seconds faster, but the quality may not be the same. And so, a few seconds is not valuable really, and we'd much rather you have the best audio and video qualities possible. So turn the low latency off. And then lastly, once any of the hosts posts a message in the group chat, such as me or Nathan or Graham, you can hover over our post and click that double speech bubble icon that you see there in the graphic to private message any of us. And that will be just a conversation that we have directly that nobody else can see, allowing you to either ask a question privately or provide your personal information like name, email, phone number, and things like that without sharing it in the group chat. Some links, and I'm going to post these as soon as we're done with the intro here and move to the theme song. I'm going to post all these links in the announcements area under the video, so don't feel like you need to copy all of these down. But I just want to go over them briefly. So the link you should be using to come to opening and closing Playbook and any future live events we have in this room is this NMC-live link. This is going to always bring you to the live events. We have two different links for replays. For the most recent opening playbook and most recent closing playbook, you can always go to this Markets PG /NMC replays link, and this will always have the last of each. Of course, it takes a little time once those events are over to get them up online. So, for example, as soon as we close opening playbook today, it won't immediately be on that page, but within an hour or two, it will be. And the same for closing playbook. And then if you want older, the last few weeks worth of replays, you can go to the YouTube channel at New Money Crew. Again, I'm going to put all these links in the announcements, so don't worry about the actual URLs. The daily scan email and text messages are something that we offer from the New Money Crew team. It's free information that we really don't put, all together in any other one place. If you want to receive an email every morning from the NMC crew, go ahead and sign up at this link. It's free. Of course, also providing Nathan and Graham's Telegram channels. This is a great way to stay in touch with them and basically find out about everything that's happening through Telegram. We have a page for signing up for the Playbook VIP membership. This is a whole bunch of content related to the things we talk about in opening and closing Playbook. It's training, it's calculators, it's all kinds of cool stuff, and it's just $1. So you want to grab that if you're not already a member. And then I also provided some additional links for people. Different people find different things helpful here, but how to paper trade, which is if you're new to something and you want to practice trading without using real money. Guide to leveling up your options permissions to be able to do spreads and things like that in your account. A walkthrough of our members area if you're new to that. And a video about our customer service live team, which does live demonstrations and answers questions 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's really a great service. Today in opening playbook, Nathan and Graham are out for annual company meetings. We have special guest Blaine Markham, who's been here once or twice before from TradeWinds. He's going to be teaching us about butterfly spreads. And then we'll have a special look at Chuck Hughes's Everyday Income Alerts program for those that missed it the last time Blaine was here. So that's all we have for the pre-show. Let me check real quick and see if we have any questions in the chat. And I will post the links as well. Give me 1 second on that. Let's see. Will we get a perfect income trade today? I am not sure. With Graham on these company meetings, I don't know what he's going to get to today as far as his programs and what he's not. John said it's in the perfect income alert, which I think means he's already posted it inside of the alert area on the members portal. Thank you, John. All right. Being new is fine. Everybody starts somewhere. Everyone's at a different place in their trading journey. I just went ahead and posted all those links in the announcements under the video. And we're going to go to the theme song.
Flip the page, it's time to start the game. Graham and Nathan calling out the names. Opportunities knocking loud and clear. The market's playbook is finally here. Opening playbook, we're ready to roll. Daily moves that fire up your soul. Strategy sharp like the razor blade. This is where the big plays are made. Oh, charts are lighting up the morning sky. They spot the trends with the hawk's eye. Options and plays in a live display. This is where the big plays are made. Oh, charts are lighting up the morning sky. They spot the trends with the hawk's eye. Options and plays in a live display. Every move counts in the game they play. Opening playbook, we're ready to roll. Daily moves that fire up your soul. Strategy sharp like the razor blade. This is where the big plays are made. Oh, step by step they break it down. No confusion, no spinning around. With every trade they set the tone. Making big calls on their trading throne. Opening playbook, we're ready to roll. Daily moves that fire up your soul. Strategy sharp like the razor blade. This is where the big plays are made. Oh, this is where the big plays are made. Oh. Opening playbook, we're ready to roll. Daily moves that fire up your soul. Strategy sharp like the razor blade. This is where the big plays are made. Oh.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the opening playbook. We are going to get started here in just a second. If you're just joining us, we posted a whole bunch of helpful links in the announcements underneath the video. So you might want to check those out and grab anything that you think might be useful, or just grab them all to have them. For those of you asking about the special event that happened Sunday and the encore that happened yesterday, if you missed both of those, I'm going to check on the replay. There should be a replay going in the members areas for Nathan and Graham's products for that. I'll check on that and I'll let you know in the chat what's going on with that while the rest of the presentation is going on. Graham and Nathan are out today. They are at our annual company planning meetings. We have a special guest from Tradewinds here, Blaine Markham. He's been here once or twice before. Let me bring him on. Hello, Blaine.
Hey, good morning, David. How are you?
I'm great. How you doing, bud?
You're doing great. Doing great. Really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited to have you. So, Blaine, you're going to be talking about some butterfly spreads today, right?
Yeah, exactly. Don't want to, bury the lead and dive in too quick, too early on, but exactly right. Yeah, we're talking about a very specific way that our team, has looked to, trade that strategy, really have thought it out in depth. And we've actually designed a really neat system and tool to actually go ahead and target those. So going to talk a little bit about that today.
Awesome. All right. Well, feel free to share your screen whenever you want, and we can get going on that. Let me see what's going on in the chat here.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take over the screen share now, and we can hop into things here in just a second.
Yeah, so stick around. We're going to be talking about some very specific type of spread trades for those of you that are unfamiliar with them or just want to learn maybe a little more detail about it. And then we will also be taking a look at the everyday income project from Chuck Hughes from TradeWinds. So with that, I'll disappear here and let you take it away, Blaine.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dave. I really appreciate it. Well, folks, really excited to be here. Really appreciate having the invite to join in on the Open Playbook this morning. And as David said, I'm visiting in for TradeWinds this morning, and I personally work alongside Chuck Hughes. We're both major team members here at TradeWinds, and I'm actually the chief trading strategist here at Chuck's optioneering team. But I'm really excited to be here talking to you about our everyday income alerts strategy and project that we've been working on. I've been working on it closely alongside Graham, too. We've partnered up on this, and I know Graham's been really excited about this program, too. And I'm excited to be here talking to you all about it today. And that's why I'm here. I'm going to be going through a lesson talking about this brand new everyday income alert system that our team has designed. Now, we've talked about it a lot already just in the open and intro to today's video. So you're probably starting to wonder, what exactly is this everyday income alert system? So don't worry. I mean, that's exactly why I'm here. We're going to be talking all about it today. I'm going to tell you exactly, what we're trying to do with it, how we're targeting these opportunities out there, and, what exactly is included with the everyday income project. But first, I actually want to tell you a little bit of a backstory in which, this backstory will explain, how we actually discovered this powerful new trading strategy. Now, as you all are probably very likely aware, there's been some major strides made recently in the past year and really even just in the past couple of months in AI technology. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what's happening in the field of AI right now. But with these new radical advancements in AI that have been made in recent years, everyone's bandwidth, you and myself all included, everyone's bandwidth for performing intense and deep research has vastly expanded almost overnight. Now, having some of these tools on your side in your pocket, it really like having a dedicated full-time research assistant working for you. It could be working at all hours of the day. But just about a year ago, myself and our team here at the optioneering team, we decided to give our new research assistant a new task. We wanted to know exactly what the typical move in the stock market was going to be on any given day. What we could expect, just what the average move is for the S&P 500. Now, so, once we posed that question, we went ahead and gave our AI research assistant its assignment. And, to be quite honest, folks, we were not expecting to getting any type of result from this research that would have been, some type of a game changer and would have changed our outlook of how we look at the markets. But once the results came in, frankly, we were kind of shocked once we got the results. And, we're all market investors, and as investors, I think I can safely say this. I think you'll probably agree with me. The stock market and all the news headlines that are constantly surrounding the market, they are very, very loud and noisy. We all know that. I mean, just look at last week, for instance, with everything, all the news headlines flying around the Jackson Hole Fed meeting and the market tensing up heading into that. You can see just, there's countless examples on any given day. You can see some examples right here, even looking back to earlier this year with, the panic around the tariffs from the new administration. But moving along, generally, the market headlines and news surrounding the stock market, again, they're very dramatic. They're very filled with emotion. And they're, even sometimes, designed that way. They're designed to try and trigger your emotions. So, because of this, I assumed that, likely the average daily move on the stock market would have been pretty sizable, would have, been a pretty significant average move on any given day. But the thing is, after I got the research results, I truly could not have been more wrong in that assumption. So, looking back over the past 30 years of S&P 500 data, my AI research bot actually discovered that 84% of the time, the S&P 500 moves less than 0.99% either up or down on any given day. So this is, looking at a 0.99% move either up or down on any given day. And again, that happens 84% of the trading days over the past 30 years. And actually drilling down a little bit further, looking deeper, actually 55% of the time, so more than half, 55% of the time, the S&P 500 moves less than 0.5% on either up or down. So, based on the previous day's close, 55% of the time, the index is moving less than 0.5% from that close to the current day's close on any given day, either up or down. Now, once I got this result, it really amazed me, given that the noise and, the just emotional headlines and, just static and noise that we hear around the markets, particularly when market volatility picks up. And we even saw some examples of that just this past week again, heading into that Jackson Hole meeting. We saw volatility ramping, people buying a lot of, VIX protection, things like that. The noise was getting pretty loud. But, again, many people, they still, they think the stock market is choppy and volatile every single day, more often than not really. But, when truly you look at the data, generally turns out the market is actually pretty boring on the day-to-day. The moves that we're getting on average, again, over the past 30 years, they're typically fairly small moves. It's, pretty boring moves. So once I learned this, I learned the secret about the markets. I actually wanted to go ahead and build a strategy to capitalize on this market phenomenon that I just learned about. And that, folks, is how we came and arrived at creating the Everyday Income Alerts project. That's how we got the idea for it. And then once we learned that, we want to design a strategy around it. So again, this strategy behind the Everyday Income Alerts strategy, it was purposefully designed to target and exploit the specific market phenomenon that, again, roughly on 84% of trading days, the market, the S&P 500, is going to move 0.99% or less, again, on roughly 84% of the trading days. So you're probably asking, Blaine, that sounds great and all, that's good to know, but how does this strategy actually work? How do you target these opportunities? Well, that's what I'm going to dive into next. So this strategy, folks, this targets this occurrence in the market by spotting a daily. So this is a system that spots a daily trade setup. And more specifically, our strategy is spotting a daily long call butterfly spread setup to target and trade this phenomenon. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this type of trade, I want to go ahead and explain just some of the basics. I know, some people have probably traded these, others may not have. So I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page of just exactly how these work. So this type of trade, long call butterfly spread, it's a type of option spread that involves 3 different option strikes, and all 3 of these are all working together, all as one trade. So this is just a look at just the structure of how a long call butterfly spread is actually set up. So again, remember, it's going to be involving 3 option strikes, but it's actually going to involve 4 options contracts. So let me go ahead and break it down. So when someone's structuring a long call butterfly spread, the first step would be one other thing here too is that all the options are going to be sharing the same option expiration date. But again, somebody's going to be buying to open one contract of an in-the-money call option. Next, they're going to be selling to open 2 contracts of an at-the-money call option. And then the third step is they're going to be buying to open 1 more contract of an out-of-the-money call option. So again, you can see here 3 different option strikes setting up this trade, total of 4 options contracts, and they're working all together in unison. Now, this type of spread, it really offers one of the key benefits that myself and Chuck and our team really look for and we really want from all the different option strategies that we trade. And it is this, it has defined risk. It's not, there's plenty of option strategies out there, that have huge potential, reward. They can have some really, attractive looking upside, but, to the downside of some of those strategies, some of them also include unlimited risk. And that's something that we like to try and avoid in our option trading and the strategies we create. And so that's one of the really, really great things that we love about the long call butterfly spread strategy, just in general, is that it's a defined risk type of strategy. So, upfront from the time you enter the trade, what your risk is on the trade. So with a long call butterfly spread, the trade's maximum risk, it's just simply the cost paid or the debit paid that you would have to pay to open up the trade. So it's your initial cost basis. That's the maximum risk on the table with this type of trade. So meaning that you cannot lose more on this type of trade than you invest initially. So, for the cost for this type of trade, how to determine that? The cost of a long call butterfly spread is simply just the net cost of all 4 contracts that are used to set up the trade. Now, this type of option trade, it's pretty unique in that it actually has 2 different break-even prices. Most option strategies out there, they're typically just going to have 1 break-even price. This one actually has 2 break-even prices. So a unique feature there with these. So meaning that if our underlying in this case, it's going to be XSP, and I'm going to say some more about that in just a minute. But in this case, if the underlying XSP is trading within those 2 break-even points for that specific trade at option expiration, then that trade is going to be set up and will be standing to produce a profit. So, given the characteristics of how a long call butterfly spread can profit, go ahead and pair that with what we learned about the S&P 500 using our research bot. You remember that on 84% of the trading days, the S&P is going to move 0.99% or less. So with, pairing that, what we learned there, with what we learned, it's, the typical daily move in the market. This has all the makings of a strategic and targeted trading strategy. we put those two together. It sounds like a great opportunity to create a strategy to target that occurrence in the market. So, if we could go ahead and look to target a long call butterfly spread trade each and every day, that is set up to account for the S&P 500's typical daily move, well, this should lead to a high probability trading strategy. And that's, folks, that's exactly what we have done with the Everyday Income Alerts project. So our Everyday Income Alerts targets long call butterfly spreads each and every day on the S&P 500. Now, each trade that's curated by the strategy is specifically picked to account for what we learned in our testing, but it does not stop there. It also accounts for the size of the move that the market and the options market is forecasting for the upcoming day when the trade, the day that we're picking the option expiration, that the trade would be set to expire. So all this to say, the trade that is found each and every day, by this strategy is selected to give it the best possible chance at becoming a winner. Now, again, just, boiling down some of the basics, how we actually look to trade it, how we implement this strategy. So we actually look to enter the new trade near the market close and preferably as close to the market close as possible. For this strategy specifically, we're looking to use the daily 1 day till expiration call options. So for XSP, we like to use the following days 1 day to expiration call options. And again, the strategy has been specifically set up and designed to avoid the pattern day trader restrictions or the PDT restrictions. So, you may or may not be familiar with those. That's less of a hurdle to some folks and more to others out there, particularly those with smaller accounts. So, we were very specifically wanting to design the strategy to avoid those, to make this, strategy more available, more economical, more, again, just more available. For folks out there with smaller accounts so that they, would be able to trade this and not have to, be battling with the PDT restrictions. And then finally, how we look to exit the trade, again, we're setting it up near the market close using the following day's expirations, those 1 day to expiration call options. And again, we plan to exit the trade that following day shortly after the market open. That's just kind of roughly 10,000 foot view of how we look to trade the strategy. So as long as the S&P 500 index during the following day's trading remains within that range, within those break evens that's designated by our trade, then the trade that we put on, it stands to profit. So that's just how the trades work with these long call butterfly spreads. Now, remember, our research was based on the typical expected daily move for the S&P 500. So our strategy had to be specifically focused on the S&P 500 index, of course. It just makes sense. We did the research on the S&P 500. We need, for the research to apply, we have to be, setting up the strategy to trade something that is specific to the S&P 500 itself too. So, as we probably all know, there's countless different instruments and investment vehicles out there that track the S&P 500's performance on a daily basis, in one way or another. But we actually landed on one specific instrument in particular that was seemingly the perfect fit for this new strategy. And it was XSP. It's the mini S&P 500 index. So again, as we know, the ticker for the headline S&P 500 index is SPX. But this one right here, it's one that was offered by CBOE a number of years back, and they started offering index options. And even more recently, the daily 0 DTE, 1 DTE, just the daily index options on XSP. And so this is actually just a mini index. And so it's actually just 1/10 the size of the typical headline S&P 500 index you always see, when you're looking up CNBC or Wall Street Journal, wherever you consume your financial news. This is just 1/10 of that value. So there's some really nice benefits that come along with that, given that it's a mini S&P index. But, again, just breaking down why we landed on XSP as opposed to all the different possibilities out there. Well, of course, we had to check off the box that it tracks the S&P 500. This, of course, does. It's just a mini version of it. It's just 1/10 of the value. But nonetheless, it is tracking the performance of the S&P 500. But given that it's a mini index, it's just a lower cost. So again, for anybody out there, any traders that are looking to follow along with the strategy that say have smaller accounts, this is a lot more cost effective and efficient for them, given that the S&P 500 is substantially more expensive to trade those index options, where XSP is just 1/10 of the value. So they're a lot more favorable cost wise for people with smaller accounts. Now, again, of course, they offer the daily 0 DTE in case, this case, it's going to be the 1 day to expiration, option expiration. So we had to have that, given we wanted the strategy to be spotting a setup and a new setup every single day. The XSP options, they also have really solid liquidity. There's just thousands and thousands of these contracts changing hands every single day. So we wanted to make sure we were picking something that was, if we're doing an option strategy, of course, we want to pick something, that had, pretty fair liquidity in the options for it. And XSP checked that box as well. And again, these are, of course, index options. So with that, they're different from equity options like you would see on a stock or an ETF. So in this case, they're index options, meaning that they are cash settled. You, of course, can't buy shares of the actual index itself. So in that case, these options, they're settled, they're cash settled, as opposed to being share settled, like if you're, trading a call on Apple or Microsoft or something like that. So, that was one thing we wanted it to be, a cash settled index option. And then also too, along with that, it comes that you have no early assignment risk, because again, you can't, there's no risk, because you can't own shares of XSP. So that was another benefit to these. They also include the favorable tax treatment. If you're unfamiliar with the index options and how they offer the favorable tax treatment, just the bare bones of that is they actually have a 60-40 capital gain tax structure on these index options, just like XSP, SPX, NDX, ones like that. So it's something you can look up if you're not familiar with it, but that was a really nice perk as well to these. And then the final thing is that, there's very few, different, index options, different trading vehicles out there, but that offer this benefit, but they actually include extended trading hours as well. They actually trade, most of the market, of course, come, 5 or 4 p.m. Eastern time. The market's closing, trading stops. There's, a little bit of stock trading after hours, but specifically for the options trading, by and large, it really kind of cuts off right there at 4 p.m. Eastern time. But with these, with XSP, as long as you're trading, at least one day in the future, so tomorrow's expiration or further, these options, they actually continue to trade every single day up until 4:15 p.m. Eastern time. So that's another really great perk, especially given this strategy that we like to enter near the close, as close to the close as possible. Given that you have that 15-minute additional buffer once the market closes, if you forget to, enter your trade right before 4 p.m., then, there's been plenty of times I'll go ahead and look to fire my trade off, in those additional 15 minutes after the close. So because of all these reasons, folks, we felt that XSP was actually just the perfect instrument for trading our new strategy that we developed under the Everyday Income Alerts project. Now, I still yet to share with you my absolute favorite part about this Everyday Income Alerts strategy. So in addition to building the powerful strategy, that's just the base, that kind of underwrites this project that we put together, we actually took it one step further. We actually went ahead and built a proprietary trade finding tool that has an algorithm running in the background that is actually going out and seeking these daily setups each and every single day for us, using the strategy that we've designed to pick out these different opportunities every single day. Now, the tool has layers of specific rules, of course, built into the algorithm, and it actually does all the heavy lifting for us every single day by finding the exact trade setup that our strategy would spot each and every day. Now, today, you're actually going to have a chance to get your hands on this tool, this innovative brand new trading tool that Chuck and myself and our team all designed. And here's just a quick sneak peek of just what it looks like. This is what the actual tool that's going out. The algorithm is running in the background. The tool's finding these opportunities every single day in that last hour of trading and, near the close. So this is what it looks like. And don't worry, we're actually going to get a little bit closer look here just shortly. But first, I want to go ahead and say a little bit more about how the strategy has actually performed recently. So, of course, after coming up with the idea, we were really excited about the idea of the strategy. We got the research, we figured out how to set up the trade alerts. Everything sounded great, right? It was a great hypothesis, but we actually wanted to see, we had to start doing some testing to actually see how this worked. We want to get some data to see how the strategy would actually work out in trading. So, of course, the first step we took was to go ahead and, test this strategy against historical S&P 500 data just to see how it performed. And impressively, across the multi-year period, this everyday strategy was actually checking off winners more than 3/4, more than 75% of the time. Now, historical testing is great, of course, but we all know with historical testing, there's a lot of different levers you can pull to optimize and kind of fit the curve and get ideal results. So while historical testing is great, we wanted to replicate this. We wanted to see this in action in real-time trading. We wanted to get these trades placed, and actually out there in the market and see how these real-time trade alerts would actually work in real trading. So that was our next step. We wanted to confirm and replicate the great results we got in historical testing, again, in the real money, actual money trading. So this is exactly what we did next. So one of Chuck's daughters, she actually learned the strategy and began trading it in her own real money account. So she traded in her own personal account, took the trades that the tool was finding, and her results, frankly, they knocked it out of the park. And in just the last couple months, below are actually her results. She put up these types of numbers down here. So you can see just in roughly the last month and a half, she had 29 winners. You can see that there in the table. She had 8 losers, of course. No strategy is perfect, right? We all understand that. Any strategy out there is going to include some losers. But with this everyday setup with everyday income alerts, she had 29 winners. She had 8 losers. The average return worked out to just a touch above 20% per trade. So that's including winners and losers. The average return came out to about 20% on the daily trades. And then the win rate was just shy of 80% right there. So you can see it came in at 78.4%. And again, looking to the far right of the table, you can see that, just hypothetically, say she had put down $2,000 in each of those different trades she had placed there, that would have produced a total of $14,920. So some just absolutely fantastic results in the real money trading that she experienced, testing the strategy out. Now, I do want to say a little bit about just my personal trading of this strategy. Just in the last week alone, in my own personal trading, of course, I took 5 of these XSP daily setups using the everyday income strategy and actually closed out 4 of them just in the past week with a profit. So 4 out of the 5 were closed out profitably. And then the week prior to that, I actually took 5 of the XSP trades. So I took the setup every single day of the week, and actually closed out all 5 of them, went 5 for 5, opened 5 trades using the everyday income alert system, closed all 5 out with a profit. Now, of course, again, not every strategy out there, not every trade, there's no strategy that's 100%, not every trade is going to be a winner. We all know that, but going 5 for 5 on the week, that was absolutely a great time. It was super fun seeing those winners come in every single day with this strategy. So next, David, I want to go ahead and just do a quick live demo. And if we have a second, if there's any questions in the chat or anything like that, of course, I'll be happy to answer any questions about the strategy. But I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah, go for it. Definitely do the live demo. And you already answered the questions that were in there. You answered them in your presentation. People were asking questions that said, never mind, just answer. So you're good.
Perfect. Well, glad to hear it. I'm glad I was able to cover it for him. But David, right here, this is the tool, folks. This is what it looks like right here. So, of course, we have a proprietary members only portal. Once you get access to this, you can log on there, and it'll take you right on over to the tool. But this is it's tracking XSP in real time. So you can see, of course, here's our our tool. It's tracking XSP. There's the current price. We have a couple disclaimers we've included up here for our members, just to just some strategy reminders of how we look to actually trade it. But then, of course, here's where the really exciting part is. Down here with the trade, you can see it actually goes out, it finds the specific setup. So again, remember, this strategy, we don't look to enter these until right near the close, folks. So remember, this trade could change, certainly by the end of the trading day. There's a lot of trading left between now and 4 p.m. So, we generally look to enter these, somewhere in the last 20 minutes, between, 3:40 Eastern and 4 p.m. Eastern. That's generally, the time frame we're looking to actually enter these trades. But this, just hypothetically say that's what the time was right now. This would be the trade. We would look at this right here. Of course, you can see here's the current stock price, or rather the index price for XSP. Here's the cost for the trade. So here are the 2 long call strikes. So you can see, it's showing you the 2. Here's the in the money, and here's the out of the money long call strikes that you're buying to open. Here's the sell strike that, of course, you're selling to open 2 contracts of. It automatically calculates the 2 break-even points for you, so both the low break-even and the high break-even, giving you your range that XSP has to trade in the following day for that trade to profit. And again, it automatically calculates the cost for you too. You can see, again, these are really, the strategy is really cost effective. Not only given that it is using the next day options that are on XSP, given that it's a mini index, you can see that the cost for this trade at current market prices right now is coming out to 2.29 points for one contract of this butterfly spread right here. And that's about average. I would say on average, the cost of these trades comes out to about $250 or 2.5 points for one of these spreads. So they're really, really cost effective, so they're, very, very open for folks with smaller accounts. They're certainly more available given that the lower cost threshold to enter some of these here. But again, if you have a larger account, then you can obviously, if you wanted to follow along with these setups here, you could always just, of course, increase the size of the position. So certainly no worries there. And then, so down here, of course, you can see in the different price change scenarios, so you can see up or down, you can see the different ones shown right there in that top row. And then looking down, of course, you can see it's calculating your spread return in those different scenarios. And then, of course, whether the trade is going to be a win or loss in those scenarios. So you can see the kind of table down here just showing you the different profit outcomes for the trade based on what XSP does. And then over here, we actually include the full trading instructions, showing you the option expiration date that the trade would be using, the exact instructions of how the trade would be set up. So again, buying to open the one in the money call, buy to open the one out of the money call, and then sell to open the two at the money calls. And again, there's a cost. And one other nice thing too is we also have some trade management guidelines regarding profit targets, things like that. And the tool actually calculates those automatically for you here as well. So it's kind of one-stop shopping here, David. It kind of does everything. It finds the setup for you, shows you the cost, the break evens, the range it has to stay in, exactly how the trade would look to be set up, profit targets, everything like that. So it's a really, really unique tool. We were super excited once we created this. And like I said, I've had a lot of really great results myself. Chuck's daughter, she has as well. Chuck has. So we've been really, really excited about this strategy, and having an everyday strategy, spotting one of these opportunities. That's exciting too. Not every strategy out there is spotting an opportunity every single day, but that's just kind of built into the backbone of the system, is to be spotting these every day.
Yeah, Nathan has been talking about that numerous times in the last week or two on opening and closing playbook, and in a couple of his other sessions, where even you don't have to have 100% ROI on a trade if you're doing it every single day, and it just adds up and adds up and adds up, and that winds up having a good success rate that you can repeat every day is sometimes better than having a great success rate you can only do once in a while, because it just builds and builds and builds. And that's
Exactly.
what an everyday program like this can do for people. And I really appreciate you taking the time to go into how, all the different legs work and how all like the cost is calculated, all that kind of stuff. Really appreciate you taking the time to do that. Before we go into the deep dive as to how people can actually get into the program, we did have a question about kind of how the exits can be managed, and if you can go into that a little bit.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah. So like I said, of course, we're looking to enter these trades, right near the close. So if I was talking about today's trade setup, I'd be looking in the last roughly 20 minutes of today's trade. That's when I'd be looking to place it, or even in those final 15 additional minutes in that extended trading. So that would be on the front end of the trade. That's when I'm looking to set it up. Now, again, like I said, we do have some trade management guidelines. And again, if you sign up, become a member, we have some great education materials diving into exactly how we look to manage these trades once we're in them. But just the kind of general overview of that is, we have two profit targets. The first one comes in at roughly 20%. And so once the trade is on, I generally go ahead and look to place a GTC good till canceled order at that profit target level for at least a good bit of my position, if not all of it sometimes. But I look to go ahead and manage it using that GTC limit exit order at my profit target.
Awesome. So for Peter, I'll answer this question. So this is not a strategy of Nate's or Graham's. This is a strategy developed by Chuck Hughes, which is actually one of Graham's mentors. And it's offered by their company called TradeWinds. And we work with them all the time. We have them on, they have us on. And as I said, Chuck is one of Graham's mentors and has been in the business for so long and has helped so many people trade with their success, that we are always happy and appreciative when they can come on and deliver educational content as well as special offers to our members as well. So it's a very complimentary to a lot of the ways that Graham and Nathan trade, because Graham learned a lot from Chuck, and Nathan and Graham trade very similarly to each other. So it's all very, congruent and works well together. And it's just another tool you can have in your toolkit for doing daily trades. So really a very cool adjunct to the other things that we do here. Let me see what other questions we have going here in the chat. So uh, for Bob, who said, you're having some issues with the exits, definitely go through the training again. Go through it at however many times you need to, at whatever pace you need to. Make sure you understand the different strategies used for exiting these trades, and then contact Tradewinds if you have questions, and they'll be more than happy to help you understand maybe what you might be doing wrong. Crink just put in that he's part of the program already. He's had great results so far, so appreciate that.
Love to hear it. Awesome, fantastic.
Yeah. So we have a question about whether stop losses would reduce or stop loss orders would reduce losses.
Sure thing. Yeah. So yeah, of course, we do have trade management guidelines as well to the downside of the trade. As much as we'd love every single trade to be a winner, of course, we're all realistic and understand that, with any strategy out there, there's risk involved in the market and trading. And so we do have management guidelines to the downside as well. And we do use stop loss limit orders to the downside. That is a part of our trade management guidelines. And again, all the full details of that, it's of course included in the strategy guideline of how we look to manage these, but we do use stop loss limit orders to the downside as well.
And somebody asked if their account is already approved for debit and credit spreads. Does that mean they can take these trades?
It should. I can't speak to every single broker out there and their specific, in-house policies, but typically if you can trade debit and credit spreads, then yes, you should be able to trade these. Typically, all that comes along with level 3 trading clearance. That's typically what is required for the debit and credit spreads on most platforms. And then so along with that, you'd be able to trade these butterfly spreads as well.
Yeah, it is a pain in the neck that the brokerages no longer have the same levels for everything, and it differs. It used to be
it's not consistent across the board. It's the weirdest thing.
So just to add on to what Blaine just said, these are 4-leg spreads as compared to most of the spreads that Nathan and Graham are doing are 2-leg spreads. They do have some 4-leg spreads in their programs. So there's a chance that depending upon what broker you're using, that their line between, let's say, level 2 and level 3, or level 3 and level 4, going from 2-leg spreads to 4-leg spreads might cross that numeric barrier from 2 to 3 or something like that. You just need to check with them, or give it a shot, see if it lets you do it. But you could definitely check with them and find out, hey, can I do 4-leg option spreads with the permissions that I have? And that'll be really what you're looking for. Let's see. Yeah, so John, the evidence you might have missed the beginning of it, whatever. But not only has this been tested with live trades, but they also back tested this way back. So there is long-term proof, how this strategy will perform, and a lot of the information presented is a combination of back testing as well as live trades that they've been doing. So absolutely, let's see. So this is Costas, this is one individual trade that you're doing. It has 4 legs. So that's what we mean by a 4-leg spread. You're putting in 4 orders, so to speak, but they're part of one trade. So
Right.
and you need to make sure you kind of have those proportions correct and everything. And that's why going through the training will teach you all of that, as well as you're getting alerts. So this isn't just training and then go figure out your trades. You're getting these alerts from Chuck and from the automated program, and that will tell you exactly what you need to do. But yes, it's going in as one spread trade, which reduces your fees that you pay on it, and also gives you better odds of success because you don't have one leg going and the other leg not going and stuff like that. So that's
a great thing, David. Is with the strategy, it has the ability to profit whether the underlying, in this case XSP, remains flat, rises a little bit, or even falls just a bit. And you could see that, of course, shown in the trading tool when I was kind of doing the quick demo of just what it looks like earlier. But again, getting back to the exact options that are used to structure it. That's the great thing about having the tool. If you want to follow along with the strategy, you get the tool, you log in, near the end of the day to see, exactly what the setup is that it's spotted there. And it's taking, it's doing all the heavy lifting for you. It's doing all the legwork. It's spotting those contracts. It's telling you the exact ones that at that moment in time right there that the strategy would be looking to trade. So it's, it eliminates all the guesswork. It's doing all of the heavy lifting, spotting those opportunities. Of course, it's fully up to your discretion to take the trades and make those decisions. But the tool is spotting the trade every single day that our strategy would spot.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think most of the other questions in here are going to be answered by the presentation that we're about to play, where Graham and Chuck himself went through the details of this program as well as how everybody can get into it. So instead of hitting you with those questions that are going to be answered by the presentation, we'll go ahead and jump into the presentation. Want to thank you very much for being here, for presenting kind of the initial detailed look at how these trades are formulated,
Yeah.
and offering this special deal that we're going to show everybody to our members.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, again, David, thanks so much for having me. Really excited to be here. Appreciate the opportunity, and I hope folks enjoyed the little, educational presentation I had for them today. I know it's a bit of a unique strategy and different, but that's also kind of what's really exciting about it. It's different. It's not something you see every day. It's not just kind of the run of the mill option strategy, so to speak. It's got some really unique characteristics. So again, thanks for having me. I hope folks enjoyed the presentation.
Absolutely. I'm sure they did. We had lots of questions, so people were obviously engaged. I'm going to go ahead and play this video, and we'll catch you later. Thanks, Blaine.
Sounds great. Thanks, David.
All right.
You guys know this. Past performance cannot predict future results, and since this is a tool to help